Hey guys, what's up? Back today with a sort of a different type of video. I'm going to be giving you guys tricks and tips on how to play uh, Virtual-On Mars or Virtual-On Force. So Virtual-On is a 3D arena fighting game, meaning that you move in a three-dimensional space, so you can run forward, backwards, jump up in the air, fly in the air, that sort of thing. So unlike your traditional 2D fighting game where you're only moving in a two-dimensional plane, here you basically have free movement, and the environment plays a huge part into your strategy and your ways you approach an attack or defense and stuff like that. My personal opinion is I prefer 3D fighting games over 2D fighting games, just because I like moving around freely and being able to position myself and not having to really worry about button combinations and stuff like that. So the thing with 2D fighting games is there's a lot of combos you gotta remember, inputs and stuff like that. Like Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Marvel vs. Capcom 1, Street Fighters, etc. Where in arena games you do have inputs, button inputs and stuff like that, but it's not as critical. You don't have to put them in at the right time and do certain joystick movements, things like that. So it's not as technical. It is more, I feel like, more strategy based, because positioning is such a huge part in 3D arena games that you kind of have to think ahead of where you want to be and where your opponent's going to be, and a lot of it is information, and you can hide information, you can do a lot of things like that. So it's more of a strategy game and a fighting game compared to like a traditional 2D fighting game. So brief history about this series, Virtual-On. There's 4 main games. I think Moongate, Oregano Tangram, Force, and this game, Mars. So 3 of them were in arcade, and a couple of them are available on PSN. I think PSN came out with a Virtual-On collection. Came out a few years ago. I'm not too sure if it's still on the PSN store. You need a Japanese PSN account to buy the collection, and I do have the collection, and it's pretty fun to play. Unfortunately, it was never released to the US, and I think it may have been taken off of the PSN store recently, so I'm not too sure if you're able to play that particular game anymore or find it. I think you may be able to still find the Virtual-On Force collection, which is on Xbox One, I want to say, either Xbox One or Xbox 360. I'm not too familiar with the Xbox lineup. I don't own Xbox. I do own basically most of the PlayStations. But yeah, so this game I'm playing right now is Virtual-On Marz, and that's it was available on PlayStation 2. Right now I'm playing this on an emulator, so it's not 100% accurate, and the textures on the emulator are a little bit better than the original game. Right now I have this set up as a versus mode, and basically I have 2 controllers attached to my computer, and just one. I'm using one controller right now. I'm using the PlayStation 2 controller. And so in today's video, I kind of want to show you some basic gameplay elements, how you move the suit, how you attack, some advanced tricks, and yeah, stuff like that, just to kind of help introduce some players to the game if you happen to be able to pick up the game. And I think it's one of my favorite games, honestly. It's been my childhood game ever since it came out in arcade, and I played it when I was like in elementary school. So Unfortunately, the arcades in America have um, not done well. Um, Closest arcade that has been doing well is like Dave and Buster's and Round One. If you go to Japan, which I've been to, like Akihabara and stuff like that, uh, they still have Virtual-On in the arcade, and they're still very popular. I know recently they came out with a new Virtual-On game, like it's like Virtual-On Index. So it's got characters from the Index anime. I haven't played that game, so I don't really know if it's even similar to this game. From what I've seen of gameplay of it, it's not that similar, and so it's not a true Virtual-On game per se. As a purist here, so I can't really compliment if that's a good game or not. Now, the original game that it came out on in the arcade, and it uses a twin stick configuration. So unlike your normal joystick and like 8-button layout with like Senwa buttons or something like that, it uses two, like just I'm not gonna say joystick, cockpit sticks side by side, and they each of them have 2 buttons each, one button at the top and one button kind of in the middle, and yeah, that's it. And you control your Virtuoid just using that. And I think that stick configuration is what makes this game so unique and cool. Is that you control the robot almost as if you're like a real life pilot. If you play Gundam Versus and stuff like that, the control of the unit is simplified into like one singular joystick and a couple buttons. Where this one, all your movement is done on 2 joysticks. And you have to kind of know how to input those and cancel your maneuvers and stuff like that, just using 2 joysticks. So in this particular game, I'm using the twin A configuration, which is closest to the arcade style joystick twin sticks. So basically, I'm using a PS4 controller, and the only buttons that I'm using are going to be the 2 joysticks, the left and right analog sticks, and then the thumb triggers. So like R1, R2, L1, L2, and that's it. You don't use any of the square, triangle, circle, X button, and don't use the directional button. So essentially, you're playing this game with just 4 buttons and the two sticks. And yeah, let's kind of talk about movement first. I think movement is the most important part of the game. Basic movement in the game, if you're using the twin stick configuration, to move the unit, you push up or down on your joystick. So if you push up, you'll move forward. Push back, you move backwards, side to side. And that's essentially and you guys can go kind of diagonal. So more or less, it's like an 8-wave movement, diagonal and stuff like that. You can't really pivot yourself too well, but yeah. So when you move your unit, you want to use both your sticks, and you want to point it in the same direction. So if I want to move forward, you have to push both sticks up and both sticks down, etc. If you only do one stick, so say like I only do the left stick, what happens is my unit will pivot. So basically the left leg is more overpowering the right leg, I guess is how you would explain it, and I'll just kind of cause my unit to kind of move in a weird circular direction if I just use one stick. Same if I use the right stick, you kind of just walk around, pivot like that. So ideally, you want to use both sticks to control your unit and the direction that you want to go in. It also walks a little bit faster and gives you more control. Now, if you need to change directions of your unit, you can easily do that by pushing the sticks in the opposite direction. So if I wanted to turn left, I push the left stick down and the right stick up. So that will allow me to pivot. As you can kind of see on both screens, I'm just kind of pivoting right here. And this is generally done when you're standing still, but it is not recommended. You rarely want to stand still and pivot like this. you leave yourself open to attack. This pivoting though is kind of important, not for when you're standing, but for when you're moving. So let's say if I wanted to run and pivot myself while I'm running, that's what you would do. So let me also explain the buttons on the controller before we get any further. So you have the R1, L1 button. Those are your boost buttons. So when you push boost and you or you hold analog in a direction, you push boost, you'll dash for a few seconds in a single direction. So for example, if I want to dash forward, dash left, dash right, I'll move for a couple seconds there. And that's essentially your main way of moving around in the game. And boosting is very important. You almost always want to boost. You never really want to walk around, unless you're fighting a boss or something. You need to stand still to dodge their attacks. But against players, you always want to be, majority of the time, boosting. So that's your R1 and L1 button. Next buttons you have are the R2 and L2 button, and then those are going to be your attack buttons. So for basic attack, a single fire shot here, you press R1, and every time you press it, it depletes your little energy bar there, 10% there. Here's my L2, you throw a little bomb. So each suit has their own attack patterns and abilities. So Tamjin here has got, you know, basic shot and a bomb that he throws out. And if you press the combination of L2 and R2, you get to do another sort of attack. So that's my beam blade attack right there. Kind of goes out in a short distance. Yeah, so those are the buttons on the game controller. So let's go back to movement before we get into the how to attack. So in terms of movement, yeah, you got your dash here, and as I was mentioning earlier, if you wanted to dash and pivot, you can run forward and dash like that, which will allow you to kind of pivot a little bit as you're running. And that's generally used for if you're trying to track where your opponent is and you want to see where they are. You can kind of pivot yourself a little bit, ever so slightly, just to see where they are. So that's pivoting while you're running. So that's horizontal movement. Let's talk about vertical movement just a bit here. So vertical movement is also very important in the game. It allows you to kind of dodge your opponent, and it also allows you to force your suit, your targeting suit, to change where to your opponent is. But we'll talk about that in a second. So for now, to perform a jump or to fly in the air, you pull your two sticks apart. So your left stick goes left, your right stick goes right, and that will allow you to jump right there. And so jumping is great, allows you to dodge attacks, get a little bit of air. If your opponent's going for melee, you can just jump out of the way, or they're doing some sort of shot in the ground that you think you can just dodge. Just yeah, jump. Now jumping is great, but it's also bad. You don't want to hang too long in the air, because then your opponent can punish you in the air. Your air mobility is very limited, as you can kind of see. If I'm jumping and I'm kind of trying to move, it's very limited. You can go like maybe about 50 feet back or 50 feet forward before you land. So not the greatest way to move your suit. You can, however, dash while you're in the air. So if you jump, input your direction, and hit the dash button, you can fly for a smidgen. And this is just generally here as a evasive maneuver, and that's about it. You're really not going to really be traveling too far. As you can kind of see, you travel about maybe 100 meters before you fall down, where here you can travel essentially about 200 to 300 meters dashing. So yep, that's basic air movement. Now the next thing here is extraordinarily important. It's I think it's one of the most important movements you can do in the game, and that is jumping forward or jumping up and then immediately landing down. And how you do this, pretty straightforward. What you do is you fly, and then you put your two sticks together. So you push your left stick right and your right stick left, and that will allow you to kind of cancel. So canceling in the game is just basically a term where you're doing a certain maneuver, but then you're just trying to cancel that maneuver into another maneuver. So in this case, I'm jumping, but I'm gonna cancel myself into forcing myself to land. And why that is important is when you jump, you automatically face your target, whatever you're targeting. So you, like, for example, if I'm looking the opposite way and I jump, it automatically points me towards my target. And the reason why you want to jump cancel is it allows you to reposition your camera immediately. So as you can kind of see, I jump, push down immediately. That allows me to automatically view my opponent. So that's the most important part of the game, because like I said, this game is information. So if you lose track of your opponent, they can go in for an attack that you might not see. They can be chasing or fighting your partner. You know, whichever the case is, you always need to kind of see your opponent. Now, sometimes that won't be the case. Sometimes you won't be able to always have your focus on them. And a good way to kind of keep track of them is using the mini-map. So the mini-map's on my lower right-hand corner. They appear as a dot on the screen, and that kind of gives you at least a general information as to the relative position to you. Now, as you get closer, once you get to about 200 meters, 300 meters, they will appear as an arrow, and that arrow is kind of important because it kind of tells you what direction they're facing. So, if they're, for example, he's facing away from me right now, and I'm facing away from him, as you can kind of see on both our screens, that will kind of tell you what your opponent is looking at. Most likely, you know, if he's looking at you, they're going to go for an attack or something like this. So yeah, just kind of a good idea to always view the mini-map and make sure that you know where your opponent is. Now let me go ahead and show you another technique. It's probably going to be your most basic technique. You're going to be dashing, and then you're going to be canceling your dash into a jump, and then canceling that into landing. That's important for this reason. For example, if I'm running and I need to see where my opponent is, jump and then go straight down, and that will reposition you right away. So that allows you to always kind of maintain eyes on your opponent. So that's kind of like the most basic maneuver there, is to see where they are at all times. And yeah, that's your basic movements there. Now let's go on to attack. Attacking is pretty easy in the game. Like I mentioned, you have your R2 and L2 button to do your attacks. Now, your attacks have a couple of variations. You have, you know, your basic attack where you just press the button one time. You can also dash and shoot. So, like, for example, I'm going to dash and shoot. That's also a possibility there. Although it's not that strong, it is and available. So you can dash and throw your bomb, dash and do that. Now, if you're standing still, there's a couple of other variations of your attacks that you could do. You have a crouch attack. So crouching, what you do is, as long as you're kind of far away or even close, you can put your two sticks together. So your left and right sticks can go together, and then you press your attack. What happens is your suit will crouch, and it'll fire a couple of rapid beam shots, and that's good for catching an opponent that's in the air. Gives you a higher angle of attack. So the bullets will kind of curve upwards, you can kind of see. Although it's really short distance, so you won't even reach him if you're far away. But it's good for punishing people who are in the air. Good for punishing people who are close to you. It has really, really high tracking, very high angle of attack, but just very short distance and very low power. You can also do that with the beam attack. Um, you can do that with the bomb. You can kind of have it hover and blow up like that. Just very weak. Just an easy way to kind of catch your opponent off guard. Now the next one you can, next thing you can do is if you're standing still, you can do a power attack. So power attack means you're holding the boost button without putting any directional input in, and you can do something like that. You can fire your beam shot. It's a very powerful beam shot. Not very useful. In the Temujin's case, it has your power shots have no tracking, so when you fire it, it will not track your opponent at all. And typically, you need to be at 100% before you can fire it. So, yeah, and you can do that with the beam attack here, or the power bomb here. Just you need to be 100% for the most part. And the beam shot, the first attack doesn't have tracking, but the other two should have tracking. So those are your variation. You have normal attack, you have the crouching attack, and then you have the power attack. So yeah, that's basically it to really attacking. And each suit has their own sort of ability and shots that they can do. Now, let's go ahead and move on from just your basic shots to melee. So there's melee in the game. Melee works in the sense that you have to have a double lock on. So as you can kind of see, as I move closer to my opponent, I have a double lock on. That means I can now cue my melee attack. So right now I'm queuing up a melee attack, but I'm just canceling at the same time. So I'm not really gonna hit him. He has all the guard right now. So for example, if I queue up melee attack, he's guarding it. Yeah, it reduces the damage significantly. So, but yeah, that's your basic melee attack. So you need a double lock on, meaning you need to be about 100 meters in. Anything outside 100 meters, and you lose that ability to melee. So you cannot freely melee like how you can in, say, Gundam Versus. In this game, you need a double lock on. You need to be within melee range, so about 100 meters. And as you kind of see, as I get closer, the bars become yellow, and those will tell you which melee attacks you can use. So for right now, since I'm in yellow in the middle one, I can use the L2 R2 to queue up this one. But that's it. I wouldn't be able to melee with my left or right trigger. Now that I'm within a really good range, if I push my R2, it'll queue up this attack, for example. And some attacks you can do double hit. So I hit my L2 button, R1 button, one hit. So yeah, that's kind of your basic melee attack. Now you have another cool melee you can do. You can do an uppercut, so you push both your joysticks downwards and just hit one of the buttons. You will do a uppercut. And then if you pull your stick apart like you were jumping and hit the melee button, then you'll queue up for I guess a downward uppercut, I guess. I don't know what it's called. But yeah, so that's two other maneuvers you can do. And then you also have what's called a power attack. So when your opponent's guarding like this, you're not going to be able to break their guard. And I'll explain guarding in just a second, but if you wanted to break the guard, what you do is you hold your boost button, and like your power attack, you can either push L1, R1, or both. In this example, I'm going to hold my boost down, I'm going to hit L2, so that's going to punch him, so that's going to break his guard, and then that will knock him down. So it's got a pretty high knockdown value. And when your opponent's generally knocked down, they have invincibility frame, so I-frame is what we call it. So they're basically invulnerable to damage, and you kind of basically have to wait for them to get back up before you engage them again. So yeah, that's the power attack. Now let's say you knock your opponent down, and as you can kind of see right there, for just a smidgen of a second, my bar on my right turn green. So when it turns green, you can actually damage them while they're in their knockdown stage or knockdown invuln. So that with that like split second, if you can time it correctly, you can hit that R2 and go in for like a stabbing motion while they're on the ground, and that will deal some extra damage there. So that's another melee attack. And then let me explain kind of like another real important melee maneuver, and that's basically this thing. So what I'm doing right now is essentially gliding along the side of my opponent, kind of repositioning myself while I'm also queuing up a melee attack. As you can kind of see the sparks on the ground. It's while it looks really hard, it's actually pretty easy to do as long as you're within I want to say 20 to 30 meters even. I guess you can do it as far as long as you're in the melee range, but basically you input your directional button while doing that, and it'll kind of glide along the side. Guarding in the game is omnidirectional, so as long as you guard, you will take no melee damage 360 degrees. So for example there, he was already too low health, but for example if I went like this and went behind him, or attack him from behind with a melee attack, the guardian will always protect him. So this maneuver is especially useful for if your opponent's also trying to shoot you, or they're trying to queue up a melee attack. You can kind of essentially dodge their melee attack and go in from behind and smack them instead. So that's the use of this particular technique. Very handy to have. Just need to be within melee range and just put your directions either left or right, and hit your R1 button or L2 button, and R1 or L2 R1. Get those buttons a little confused sometimes, and then you'll be able to kind of queue up that attack. Next off, kind of another advanced technique. So like I said, most attacks have most melees will do 2 hits at most. Some melees, like a powerful one like this, will hit it one time only. Secretly, what you can do is you can actually do a 3 melee combo. So basically you do your basic melee attack while also hitting, holding the boost button and hitting that same button again, and that will queue up a powerful attack. So for example, do 1, 2, and 3. As you can kind of see, that knocks them down. So they take the 2 hits, and then you hold down your power boost button to queue up a power move or power attack, like a punch maybe. And yeah, it basically will allow you to do like a 3-hit combo. And this maneuver can be done even while you're doing that, even while you're like kind of encircling them. It can be done while you're standing stationary, or when you're doing the little sliding melee. So next off, kind of finishing off the melee, just like with crouching, if you wanted to guard, you just push your 2 sticks together, and that will allow you to kind of guard like that, and that will give you omni protection against basic melee attacks. It will not protect you against shots, so if your opponent shoots you, you're going to be knocked out. So in Gundam Versus, if you do the guarding, it'll kind of block all attacks from the front, and whether they're shots or melee, where in Virtual-On, guarding will block all attacks from every direction melee wise, but will not block any shots. Okay, so I think that covers the most of the movements and kind of techniques to be using in the game. Well, actually, there's one more I want to kind of mention. It's still kind of melee based. So there is a way to still melee while you're out of range. So for example, if you want to just queue up a melee attack, you can still do that. And oops, sorry, didn't mean to do that. So as you can kind of see, I'm able to melee without being in the range. I actually do it whenever I want to. There's really no requirements for it. And how you do this is as long as you're dashing and you pull back on your 2 joysticks and you hit L1 or sorry R2 or L2, you'll be able to kind of queue this up, or a combination of both. You pull back on your sticks, dash in a direction, pull back on your sticks, and then you'll be able to kind of queue up on that. Now I think that's only when you're running forward. If you're side moving like this, you will not, for the most part, be able to do that. But yeah, you can also do it while you're in the air, which is kind of cool. Oh, sorry, wrong maneuver there. I'll explain that one in a second. But yeah, you can kind of, let me see if I can get this correctly. It's a little tricky to do it while in the air. I think some suits can do it, some suits can't. I don't remember this particular thing. Engine can do it. I think the higher mobility ones can, but this one can't. So same idea is when you do that, you should be able to do this. And this particular technique is generally great for catching people off guard. Because most of the time when they're running, they're not gonna suspect you to melee them. So it's great for like a run by. So like if I was running across and I did that, you can kind of hit them. In this case, I have the unit on auto guard, so even though I ran by and I try to queue up an attack, it just instinctively blocks it. So yeah, I think that basically covers all the movements. Oh, I guess every time I say that, I forget to mention one more thing. So in the movements in this game, another advanced technique here is changing directions while you're dashing. And I don't mean by just doing pivoting yourself. What I mean is actually just changing directions completely. So for example here, I'm running forward, now I'm running to the side, or running forward and running more or less kind of like that. So running to the side, then I'm pivoting myself almost forward immediately. And it's a little bit easier to do with suits that have higher mobility. But yeah, so how you do this is when you run in a certain direction. So let's say I'm running forward, you can double tap your joystick in a certain direction, so left for example, and that will allow me to pivot left mid dash or forward mid dash. Changing direction is also very important while dashing there. Gives you the ability to change your angles of attacks, which is very important, and it's another way to kind of constantly move without having to cancel and jump up and do this, so you can kind of move and then get your opponent in range or in view while moving and doing that. And so for example, normally if I'm running sideways, I'll do a side attack here. Let me go and show you that. So for example, if I did, normally when I go sideways, it'll do something like that. But let's say I want to change my angle attack, go for a stronger move, I can go like that, and pivot myself for a stronger attack, and that will allow me to kind of trick my opponent into thinking I might be doing a side attack where I'm actually doing a frontal attack. Let me just go ahead and start this back up. Yep, and so for the most part, that's the advanced movements for this particular part of the game. And then there's a couple other cool tricks you can do. For example, you saw me do like a surfboard attack earlier. Practically useless in combat, but just kind of cool to do. And some units do have that special attack, so you just have to kind of experiment and see what your unit is capable of. So for example, Temujin has a special move that you can surf on your beam blade right here, and that requires you to jump in the air, dash forward, and then pull your sticks apart again and hit the L2 and R2 button at the same time. So as you can kind of see, does that. So and it drains all your power in your energy bars. So Well, it's one of those moves that is kind of flashy, but definitely not useful unless your opponent is just stationary and is not moving. Yeah, it does quite a bit of damage, but can be blocked, as you kind of see there. The NPC did block it. Let's just try it again. Completely missed there. But yeah, it's a cool maneuver. But yeah, the basic part, just knowing how to kind of angle yourself, make sure you're in the right position, make sure you know what to queue up for melee. You have several different melee techniques, power melees, sliding melees. I don't know if they have any official terms. I'm pretty sure there is an official term on like the Japanese Wikipedia and stuff like that, but unfortunately I don't read Japanese, so I can't really explain to you what that is. If you're playing with a partner, you can also switch targets by pushing both the boost buttons at the same time. Right now, obviously, I only have one opponent, but yeah, you can kind of do that. I don't think there's anything else really. So let me do a match here, just a quick one, just to kind of show you some techniques. Alright, so we'll just do just a match of one here. You can kind of see how all the techniques are used and how the mobility of the game works, targeting works, melee works. Yeah, just like an overview. Alright.
Get ready.
So for example, if I want to switch targets, right there. See, he's queuing up for attack. So I'm guarded there, and let him so he went in for a melee. Now I can't see him. I use my mini map a little bit to kind of see where he's at. He landed, so I punished him while he's landing. Yeah, so I use a power attack to try to catch him off guard. He guarded it. I missed it. I was about to go in for the special pivoting maneuver. Yeah, so I guarded there. Yeah, so you guys can kind of see we're just dodging. I'm not sure. This time he's just standing around, but I think he was trying to queue up for an attack, and I kind of moved around and punish it in that sense. So yeah, there you go. So I hope you guys enjoy and you learned something. Games, like I said, it's really fun to play. There's like hundreds of different Virtuoids. Granted, some of them are pretty similar in combination, but for the most part, they all kind of have their different play styles. You can sit back, shoot. You can be more aggressive with melee, or you can kind of be balanced using like the Temjin, or be like hit and run and stuff like that. So all sort of different techniques. If you have any questions or anything, just let me know. I can probably answer them in the comments. And yeah, hopefully this game gets another release. Maybe a PC release. It definitely can be played on PC. And I would really hope so. But I don't think Hitmaker or Sega is gonna do anything with this IP, unfortunately. And that's really sad. It's one of the better games. Maybe Bandai one day can pick up this series and they can do something with it. That'd be kind of cool. I mean, Gundam's done pretty well, and as an arena fighter, another good arena fighter, if you ever do get the chance to play, is Power Stones. Is also one of my favorite arena fighter. Power Stone 1, Power Stone 2, real great, great fun games. And yeah, other than that, we'll see you guys next time.